Good morning, students. In the last class we have seen the paging concept, and today's class we will see the segmentation. What do you mean by segmentation? A segment is a logical entity in a program. Example, a function, a data structure, or an object. It is a logical entity in a program. Hence, it is meaningful to manage it as a unit. Load it into a memory for execution or share it with other programs, right? So for if you take an example of functions, these functions are going to be shared. These functions are going to be shared between uh, the programs, right? So such logical entity is called as the segmentation. If you take any program, that program consists of many segments, right? So the segments are in the diagram you can see the segments are main function, a search if you are searching for any function, right? So these are all nothing but the function. Stack comes into picture only when there is a function is been called, and update function, right? If you are performing any update operation in your program, and if you are maintaining some database, then database also act as one segment, right? So here the process queue consists of 5 logical entities with the symbolic names main, database, search, update, and stack. While coding the program, the programmer declares these 5 as segments in a queue. This information is used by the compiler or assembler to generate logical addresses while translating the program. Each logical address used in a queue has a form SI, BI, where SI and BI are the IDs of segment and byte with a segment, right? So as we discussed in the case of paging, we have two components of a page, which is the page number and the byte number. So on the similar basis, in case of segmentation, so as in case of segments, it also has two components. One is the segment ID and the byte number, right? So in the table, segment table of a queue, you can see there are 5 segments, right? And it also contains the sizes of those, like a page table what we have, right? The size of each page, like that we have a size of each segment here, and the starting address of each segment, right? So on the similar basis of a page table, we have a segment table which contains the segment size as well as the starting address of those particular segment. Okay, moving to the next slide, we are going to discuss segmentation with paging, right? Segments are going to be divided in terms of pages, in terms of fixed size pages. In this approach, each segment is a program is paged separately. Accordingly, an integral number of pages is allocated to each segment. Accordingly, the integral number of pages is allocated to each segment. This approach simplifies the memory allocation and speeds it up. The page table is constructed for each segment, and the address of a page table is kept in the segment's entry in the segment table. A page table is constructed for each segment, and the address of the page table is kept in the segment's entry in the segment table, right? Because now each segment is divided in terms of pages, right? So we have the information of that particular segment as well as the the page. Address translation for a logical address is now done in 2 stages. In the first stage, the entry of SI is located in the segment table and the address of its page is obtained, because now a segment is divided into number of pages, right? So we need two kinds of information. One is the segment address as well as the page address, right? The byte number BI is now split into a pair, that is PSI, where PSI is the page number in a segment SI, and BPI, that is byte number in that particular page, right? So now we don't have only one segment here. We have a segment which is divided into number of pages, right? So when we are going to access a particular byte from this segment, we need the particular segment address as well as the page number of that particular segment, and along with these two information we also need the byte number. right? So in the segment table of a queue, you can see there are 5 segments, right? And these are the sizes of those particular segments, and we have a page table address along with the segments, right? Next, we are going to study the basics of virtual memory. What do you mean by virtual memory? So in case of virtual memory, first we will see what is the definition of virtual memory. It's a memory hierarchy consists of a computer system's memory and a disk. This enables a memory hierarchy consisting of a computer system's memory and a disk that enables a process to operate with only some portions of its address space in a memory, right? So virtual memory is an illusion of physical memory. It is an illusion of a memory, of a physical memory, you can say. User always want more from the computer system, more resources. He wants more number of services. The need for more resources is satisfied either by obtaining more efficient use of existing resources or by creating an illusion that more resources exist in the system. A virtual memory is what its name indicates. It is an illusion of a memory that is larger than the real memory, right? So here real memory we are calling it as RAM, random access memory of the computer system. It is an illusion of a memory, right? So we just imagine that there is a large memory existing in a computer system, but actually physically if you see, we don't have that particular large memory amount of memory in the computer system. It is just an imagination, right? So virtual memory is just an imagination. It is not a physical memory. A user or his application program sees only the virtual memory. The kernel implements the illusion through the combination of hardware and software. We refer to the real memory simply as memory. So we refer to the software component of a virtual memory as a virtual memory manager, right? So here the kernel will map that physical memory and this virtual memory, right? So whenever we look for any particular data or instruction, if it doesn't reside in a RAM, then it is going to exist in a hard disk, right? So hard disk is nothing but a virtual memory, right? So what kernel does, whenever it doesn't find any data in the RAM, then that data will be obtained from the physical from the hard disk, right? So here the user is under the illusion that he has a very high size of RAM, right? Next, how that particular virtual memory is going to be implemented, right? So in this diagram you can see information about the memory areas where these components exist is maintained in a data structure of a virtual memory manager, right? So we have a process which is nothing but a logical address space, right? This information is used by the MMU. This information is used by the MMU during address translation. When an instruction in the process refers to a data item or an instruction that is not in a memory, the component containing it is loaded from the disk. So here you can observe in the diagram, right? So process, it contains a lot of data as well as the instructions, right? So the process can be considered as a logical address space, and in between this can be considered as a logical address space, and we have something called a physical memory address space. Here I'll call it as a RAM, okay? So here in between somebody has to sit which can do this logical address which can translate this logical address into the physical address. So that intermediate thing is nothing but memory allocation information, right? So that will be obtained by MMU, and this MMU is going to convert, that is memory management unit is going to convert that particular logical memory in logical address into a physical address, right? And if the kernel checks for the data what the user is looking at. If it is not residing in a main memory, then it is going to be obtained from the disk. It is going to be obtained from the disk, right? So the disk itself can be considered as the virtual memory. Occasionally the virtual memory manager removes some components from the memory to make a room for other components. So here the virtual memory manager is again a part of operating system which removes some component from the memory to make the room for other components. Now the next concept is demand loading of a process component, right? So now we have understood that the memory virtual memory manager is going to replace the data or the instruction from the memory, that is main memory, right, to the data which the user wants from the disk, right? So which page or which data it has to be loaded from the what we call as a disk or a hard disk, you can say, right? So for that we need to understand what do we mean by a demand loading of a process components, right? So the virtual memory manager loads only one component of a process address space in memory to begin with, right? Because whenever it comes to an execution of a process, right, process is made up of set of instructions, right? So when a particular process starts executing, then one by one instruction has to be loaded from the disk into the main memory, right? So until and unless the instruction come to that main memory, they cannot be executed. On the similar basis, if it doesn't find any of the instruction in the main memory, then that particular instruction or the data will be loaded from the hard disk, right? So initially what virtual memory manager does, it will load only the initial component of a process address space in memory to begin with, the component that contains the starting address of the process. Let us say if it is starting with some instruction, let us say move, right? So what is the address of that particular instruction? That will be initially loaded with loaded into the main memory, right? So because the virtual memory manager is not going to load the entire process into the main memory, it will load only the starting component of a memory, and depending on the requirement of those instructions, the data as well as the instructions are going to be loaded from the virtual memory, right? So now it will initially load the starting address of the process and address of the instruction with which its execution begins, right? So it loads the other components of a process once the starting address of the process is loaded and that particular process gets starts its execution. Then the virtual memory manager is going to load the other components of a process only when they are needed. This technique is called the demand loading. This technique of loading the other components of a process is called demand loading. To keep the memory commitment to a process low, the virtual memory manager removes components of a process from the memory from time to time, because there are many number of processes which are running in the computer system, right? So kernel has to maintain, or virtual memory manager has to maintain a fair user service to all these processes, right? So instead of loading one process at a time in a main memory, it will load only the part of those process or components of those processes into the memory, right? So here what happens, always the virtual memory manager will load initial component of, let us say 10 processes are running in the computer system. It will load only the initial starting address of those 10 process components, and whenever they start executing, and depending on their requirement, they are going to be loaded into the main memory, right? So this loading of data or the instructions into the main memory as per the requirement is called demand loading. these components would be loaded back in the memory when needed again, right? So 2 and 4, 2 and 4th, what we call swapping of data or the instruction will be continued between what the main memory as well as the main memory and the virtual memory, right? So here we have discussed two concepts. One is paging as well as segmentation. First, let us see what are the differences between paging and segmentation. First column is issue and second one is comparison. How that issue is going to be discussed in case of paging as and segmentation. The first one is concept. What is the concept? The page is a fixed size portion of a process address space that is identified by the virtual memory hardware. A segment is a logical entity in a program. Example, a function, right? So page is a fixed size. Page is a fixed size component in a memory. Page is a fixed size component in a operating system, right? So it's a portion of a process address space that is identified by the virtual memory hardware. A segment is a logical entity in a program. Example, a function, data structure or an object, but segments are identified by the programmer, right? And pagings are identified by virtual memory hardware. Next, the size of the components. All pages are of same size, but segments may be of different sizes. All pages are of fixed size and segments are of different sizes or variable sizes. Third one, external fragmentation, not found in paging because memory is divided into page frames whose size equals the size of pages. It occurs in segmentation because a free area of memory may be too small to accommodate a segment. And internal fragmentation, next one, occurs in a last page of a process in paging. Occurs in a last page of a process in a paging because whenever the last page is allocated to a particular process, then a small amount of memory can be left free. It does not occur in a segmentation because a segment is allocated a memory. It does not occur in segmentation because a segment is allocated a memory area whose size equals the size of the segment. And the last one, sharing. Sharing of page is feasible subject to a constraint on sharing of code pages. Okay, so these are the differences between the paging and segmentation. Next comes the demand paging, right? So demand loading we have seen, that is whenever a virtual memory manager requires instruction or the data from the virtual memory, so those data and instructions will be loaded into the main memory, right? So that particular concept is called demand loading, right? So with this concept we are going to study the concept of demand paging. Okay, so that we will see in the next class. Thank you.